Ever have one of those nights where you just can't seem to get any sleep? You're tossing and turning, just totally restless, and then the next day it's like your brain is stuck in first gear.
Oh, tell me about it. Happens to the best of us, right?
Exactly. And you'd think one good night's sleep would be enough to reset things, wouldn't you?
You'd hope so.
Well, it turns out our brains might be holding on to those sleepless nights way longer than we thought. We're diving into a fascinating study from PLOS Biology covered in Newsweek that suggests our everyday actions, even something like a bad night's sleep, can actually impact our brains for up to 2 weeks later.
Yeah, 2 weeks. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? Those late-night pizza binges, the endless scrolling on your phone before bed, your brain remembers.
So we're not just imagining that sluggish feeling. It's like our brains are taking notes on our every move, good or bad.
Precisely. And what's really unique about this study is the approach they took. It wasn't just a quick snapshot in time, like a lot of those brain scan studies. They actually followed a single person for 5 months.
5 months. That's incredible. So were they hooked up to brain scanners 247 for 5 months straight?
Well, not quite 2 to 4/7. But they did use a really impressive combination of technology to track this person's brain activity and behavior in detail. Twice a week, they did fMRI scans, which show you the activity happening in different areas of the brain.
That in itself is pretty amazing.
It is. But on top of that, get this, the participant wore a smart ring to monitor their sleep patterns and how much they were moving around. They even had them wear a smartwatch to keep tabs on their heart rate and breathing.
Wow, talk about tracking every move.
Right. And as if that wasn't enough, they also had the participant answer questionnaires on their phone throughout the day, just to gauge their mood and energy levels.
It's like they captured a complete picture of how this person's brain was responding to the normal ups and downs of daily life, not just in some controlled lab environment.
Exactly. And that's what makes these findings so incredibly relevant to us. We're talking about real life here. And what they found is that our brains react to our actions in two distinct ways, a short-term wave and a long-term wave.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's break that down. What's the difference between these two types of brainwaves?
So the short-term wave, that's the immediate response. You know that foggy feeling you mentioned after a rough night's sleep?
Oh yeah, I know it well.
That's your short-term wave in action, like your brain hitting that snooze button, trying to catch up. That usually lasts, say, less than a week, and it's your brain's way of adjusting on the fly.
So there's actual scientific proof that I'm not just being whiny when I need that extra cup of coffee after a night of tossing and turning.
You got it. Your brain is right there with you. But here's where things get really wild, the long-term wave. That one reflects these much deeper, more lasting changes in how your brain cells are actually connecting and communicating with each other. And get this, the study found that these long-term impacts, they can stick around for up to 15 days.
15 days? Are you serious? It's true.
So you're telling me something I did or didn't do 2 weeks ago could still be affecting me today?
That's what this research suggests.
15 days? That's a long time. I mean, 2 weeks. That's crazy to think about. It's like my brain is keeping a secret log of everything I'm doing, even when I don't realize it.
In a way, it kind of is. And here's the thing. They found that this long-term wave, it was particularly noticeable in the areas of the brain that are responsible for attention and memory.
Attention and memory. Okay, so let me get this straight. You're saying that if I, pulled an all-nighter to finish a project or meet a deadline, that lack of sleep could still be messing with my focus for almost a whole week after that.
It's definitely a possibility. Think about it this way. Your brain is constantly adapting and rewiring itself, right? It does that based on what you're doing, what you're experiencing, all of it. And those changes, those rewiring moments, well, they take time. It's not an instant flip of a switch. So it's sort of like, I don't know, building a new habit. Like it takes time for that habit to really stick, for it to become second nature. It's the same deal with our brains adapting to new patterns, even if those patterns aren't so great.
Exactly. You're getting it. And, the encouraging thing is it works both ways. So, yeah, those negative habits, they can lead to changes in the brain, but those positive habits, the things we do that are good for us, well, those have the power to actually enhance how our brain functions. It makes it more, resilient, more able to bounce back from challenges.
Oh, that's good to know. So it's not all doom and gloom. There's hope for us yet, even if we haven't been perfect with our sleep schedules and healthy habits.
Exactly. And that's what I think is so empowering about this research. It highlights that, we're not defined by a single late night or that extra slice of cake. It's about recognizing that consistency is key. It's like You wouldn't expect to go to the gym once and wake up with a six-pack the next day, right?
Okay, that's a good point. I definitely wouldn't.
Right. So instead of stressing about every little slip-up, we can focus on building those positive patterns, those healthy choices that will, over time, benefit our brains in a much bigger, lasting way.
So what you're saying is I should probably worry less about that giant cookie I ate last week and more about making sure I'm making healthy choices, most of the time. It's about the bigger picture.
Exactly. It's those small, everyday actions that really add up over time. It's getting enough sleep. It's moving your body regularly. It's nourishing yourself with healthy foods. These things might seem small or even insignificant in the moment, but they create this ripple effect. They shape our brains over time.
So it's like we're literally sculpting our own brain power day by day.
That's a great way to put it. It's true. This actually reminds me of something I read a while back. It was about how every experience we have, everything we learn, it physically changes the structure of our brains.
Wait, really? So you're saying that learning a new language or, I don't know, taking up a new hobby, that actually rewires our brains?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just some abstract idea. It's literally rewiring those neural pathways.
So we're kind of like, I don't know, architects of our own brains in a way.
I like that analogy. It's not too far off. And the really cool thing is that it's never too late to start making those positive changes.
Oh, good. So it's not like, once we hit a certain age, our brains are set in their ways.
Not at all. Even later in life, our brains have this incredible capacity for growth and change. That ability to adapt, to form new connections, it's always there.
That's reassuring to know because I think, a lot of us worry about, I don't know, losing that mental edge as we get older.
I get it. But the truth is, every day is a new opportunity, a chance to make choices that support our brain health. Those choices, they really do matter, whether it's prioritizing sleep, getting that body moving, or even just taking a few minutes to unwind and de-stress.
It's like you said earlier, self-care isn't selfish. It's an investment in our well-being, both now and in the future.
Exactly. And I think, if anything, this study reminds us to pay attention to what our brains and bodies are trying to tell us.
Yeah.
When we're feeling sluggish or mentally drained, it's not just like in our heads, right? It could be our brain sending us a signal, a little nudge to say, hey, something needs to change.
It's like a wake-up call from our own bodies and minds.
Right. And instead of ignoring those signals, we can actually use them as valuable information. We can use them to make those positive adjustments.
That's a great takeaway. So as we wrap up this deep dive into, well, the amazing world of our brains, is there any final thought you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
Well, I think it's easy to get caught up in the chaos of everyday life, always chasing those immediate rewards and quick fixes.
I think we're all guilty of that from time to time.
Absolutely. But what this study really highlights is that our brains, they're in it for the long haul. They're wired for those long-term gains. And those consistent choices we make, day in and day out, those are the things that are really shaping our cognitive destinies.
It's a powerful reminder.
It is. So the question I would leave everyone with today is this. What choices are you making today, right now, that your future brain will thank you for?
It's something to think about. And on that note, this has been another deep dive. We'll catch you next time.